Hi guys, I'm Alicia Shepard and I'm living in Yeosu, South Korea right now with my husband Tom. We live on the southernmost part of Korea, so at the very bottom, as far as you can get. We've been here for about 2 years now and we will be leaving in April after we finished about 2 years here. So I teach elementary school English. So I'm teaching grades 3 to 6 for regular curriculum English, and then I also teach after school classes for the younger grades, so for grades 1 and 2. My husband teaches middle school English, so all boys school, and yeah, so like I said, we're in Korea, and in the past I've lived when I was growing up, my dad was in the Air Force, so I lived in England when I was in middle school and was able to travel pretty extensively around Europe just because it was so close and easy to get to from England. And so I had that experience growing up, and then when I was in university, I studied in Fiji. I studied abroad for a semester, and then I had a little extra too. So living in Fiji and England growing up, I think really, really impacted how I ended up in Korea. So I am, like I said, teaching here and loving it. Korea has been so, so amazing, and it's so different than America in so many ways. The biggest ways that have stood out to me that are different are the hierarchy of respect. So depending on age or sometimes marital status, you have earned respect in this country automatically. And so when I first got here, the first questions I always got were, how old are you and are you married? And so I think that they were asking those questions so they could kind of put me into their rankings of how they grew up with respect. And and yeah, I think that has been one of the biggest ways. And also, I grew up learning, excuse me, to stand up for myself and stand up for what I believe in and be passionate about it and speak out if I don't agree with something, and that change can be done. And so that's how I grew up. But in Korea, it's very different. They are very much a community-based society, and so, which is a really great thing, but it creates challenges for someone who grew up in a place that we're taught to speak out and stand up for what you believe in and take action. And so it's very much a community society, like I said. So for example, if one person in the community of leaders or whoever has decided gone with the decision of the majority, it wouldn't be typical in my experience that somebody would stand out and stand up against that, especially traditionally here. And so that's been a really different thing for me, as well as the hierarchy respect order. The food is different here. It's very different. In America, we're a huge melting pot of cultures, and which is really wonderful, and I never realized that while I was there. But in Korea, it's just mostly Korean food, especially where I live. There aren't a lot of foreigners, and I'm very, very far from Seoul, which is a big city with lots of foreigners and lots of people living abroad from the States and all over the world, and all sorts of food. And so the food is very different here. They use red pepper chili paste in a lot of their foods, and it's very spicy. And so and the fish is prepared very differently than I was used to growing up. And so the food is different and the language is different. That's probably one of the most obvious things, is they speak Korean here. And so that took quite a bit of getting used to as well. I guess I didn't realize until I was here how big of a deal that would be with communication, as far as ordering or just going to the store and having small talk with the cashier, asking questions to somebody on the street about what they're doing or how they're doing, and that's been a challenge as well. And so there's a lot of things that are different. There are some things that are the same. The way the highways and roads are set up are very similar to the US. Technology is very similar. I have a smart board here, and I also had one when I was teaching back in the States. So that was a very big similarity. You know, smartphones are everywhere, Wi-Fi is everywhere. It's the best in the world. Definitely one of the top places in the world for Wi-Fi. And so there are some similarities in technology and as far as business goes. But there are many, many things that are different. Many. So many. And the grandmothers of this country, they're called Ajummas, they have all rights. Like, they can cut in line, and they can push you, and not in a way that's harmful, but they're just very, in society, they're very respected and very powerful women. And so they have kind of earned their right to do those things. And so, again, very different than the US, I think.